Welcome to Question Time. Today's question came from a HR advisor who asked, how do I avoid being accused of bias or conflict of interest during an internal workplace investigation to say bullying, harassment or sexual harassment? Now, that's a good question, and it's hard because when you're working as an internal investigator, it is very hard to show that you are not biased. So I guess what I've suggested that people do is, firstly, don't allow any sort of personal feelings to get involved in the decision making. Don't allow anything that's happened in the past. So just because someone did something in the past doesn't necessarily mean they did it this time. Don't allow anything such as that's the way the person is or that's the way they behaved in the past to affect your final judgment. Focus on the evidence. Okay, forget about comments such as, oh, that's the way they are, or she's like that, or that's the way he's behaved in the past. Focus purely on the evidence. Okay, so don't allow any of your bias to affect the final outcome. And in relation to conflict of interest, don't allow the wishes of other people who are not necessarily involved in investigation, and by other people I might be talking about senior management, don't allow their wishes to cloud your judgment and affect your final decision. The final decision on the investigation must be made on the evidence. So the wishes of the organisation shouldn't be taken into account. Also, your own feelings about potentially your career path and how your career will be affected by the investigation shouldn't be a part of the investigative process. Okay, if you allow that to happen, there's definitely a conflict of interest. So the best thing I can suggest you do is manage the conflict of interest if there is one. And don't forget, it's not just a matter of there being a conflict of interest, it's potential for a conflict of interest or appearing to have a conflict of interest or a bias. So what I'd say is, if you're aware of a conflict of interest or a bias, say something, declare it, manage it, and if you can't manage it, you must remove yourself from the investigation. That's why in many cases, conducting internal investigations is a difficult thing, and I often recommend outsource. Outsource to an independent person who isn't affected by any bias, isn't affected by a conflict of interest, and in my case as an investigator, I base my findings purely on the evidence. Okay, till next time, thanks very much.